I went from Rocky Mountain High to the Midwest Blues, as the grey skies of the Midwest that are synonymous with winters through there before we started rolling in.
I was going to say you've come in at the perfect time, because I'm not, maybe in April you'll see the sun.
Well, it greens up a lot earlier through the Midwest. I do know that in Colorado.
That is
a
true.
little brown and dreary there on the ground, but the blue skies and the snow-capped mountains I will miss. And my dear friends, Pete Steinberg at the top of the list as well. But we promised a Canadian-focused episode, and we are going to deliver. We have on one of my all-time favourite players, not only for Canada, but for the Toronto Arrows, just a phenomenal human being. And Pete, he's a guy that you and I think it was in the COVID year, really took a shine to the way he was playing for the Arrows. And of course, that season cut short tragically. But let's bring him in. I'm talking about McAdoo, the Mac Daddy, Jamie Mackenzie.
I think, like you touched on, we have a really good club system, especially out west, where everything was pretty much based. If you wanted to play rugby, you had to move out west. And kind of, they used to have the Pacific Pride back in the day where guys were just on their own dime, grinding day in, day out, training together, playing well. And that's when they were successful. And kind of when I moved out west in 2007, I think I was the only guy on the UVic team that wasn't capped for 7s or 15s. And everybody moved out there if you wanted to play. That's how you did it. There was Canadian carding money, but it wasn't much, $1,200, $1,400 a month that guys were living off of, and everybody was playing club rugby. And so you're playing against the guys that you're competing for positions every weekend. So it's basically like an inter-squad game every weekend, and that's when we were really, really strong. And I think kind of when it started to trend slightly downward is when they put some restrictions on the amount of like Canadian carded players that could play for each team. Like you'd be missing guys from the Canadian squad because there's too many carded guys on one team, and that's an issue when you just want the best guys out there playing week in and week out. Yeah, I still think we're pretty new to that whole, I guess, structure in terms of the MLR and how it's going to affect things down the road. I think it's definitely giving guys more of a pathway. The younger guys can see that they can actually make a bit of money, play a sport they love, and be in like a city like Toronto, which is amazing. So I think that's really cool. I think it might be a few years before we see any production from that. And those like the Arrows are setting up several academies throughout Ontario, so they're able to work in different areas, find new players and bring them into the system. So I think like down the road, it could be beneficial, but Canada's kind of struggled with finding the right competitions and spending money in certain spots. Like we went from North American 4 back in the day to then the CRC, and just finding the right structure of how to play competitive rugby all the time, when before guys were literally just moving out west on their own dime and doing it themselves basically. Well, actually, I was talking to some of the guys from the Canadian team after that Chile game, kind of joking around, saying that they forced my hand here a little bit. But with some of the injury issues that I had and Canada not qualifying kind of took away some of my incentive to come back. So I actually did some reflecting over the last few weeks and kind of decided that I'm officially going to hang up the boots, which is exciting, disappointing, upsetting, but I'm happy about the decision and I'm looking forward to the next chapter, which will be pretty cool.
That's big news, Pete. 32 years young,
big
retiring. News. Great career, but you hate to see a player go out with an injury, but it sounds like he's really taken his time and thought this process through, and he gave it a good shot at rehab this year, and just a talented human being, like on the field, but also off it, just as a human being. I think he's going to land.
Well, I mean, it was like during the esports explosion of rugby during COVID. I got a chance to meet Jamie, and he's got like a sharp wit, and he's a smart guy, and he's just one of those guys that's going to be successful. I think he's also one of the guys that really maximized his talent. Like, I don't think he's the best natural athlete, but really skilled, read the game really well, and was a missing piece of the Arrows had a few guys that weren't able to come south of the border for their season, and guys like Rob Brower and Jamie Mackenzie. I think that's a big deal.
Yeah, 100%. And then again, I forgot about the virtual rugby. How good was that with him and Ben Lesage? It was like the
was
modern
like a
day
blast.
odd couple. All right, let's jump into some transactions. Boy, oh boy,
There's a ton of them
running
like,
hot. Do you want me just to run through them quick,
them.
and then you can kind of touch on a couple of them?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
So, obviously, the big one that jumped out to everyone was Marnotto. Announced that he is coming back to San Diego. I believe he did that right as the All Blacks game against USA was either happening or about to happen or had happened. So good timing there, Marv, just like letting everyone know that one of the greatest All Blacks is actually coming back to the shores to terrorise us for another year. John Sullivan, Nola Gold fans will know the name John Sullivan. He has moved over to Rugby ATL, so they're building up their front row stocks there. Obviously, we had Chance Wangluski on a few weeks ago and announced that he is leaving. I'm not sure if that has been publicly announced yet where he's going, so I will just hold my breath on that one. Yep, I will. I just read through Aaron's notes real quick. Dallas Christian Adams, and I'm looking at my notes. I'm missing a name here, so thanks a lot, Strobro.
It's down the bottom.
Oh, it is?
Aimee.
Oh, you can take
I have
it.
no idea. I couldn't tell.
Aimee.
Heinlein. Yeah, look at this.
yeah.
We'll get all
Yeah,
listen, we'll get the phonetics before the season kicks off. Don't worry, because then Jaco, here we go. Bezudinhout. At least Zach Pangelina, we know that one extends. Oh, Pan, she's going around again. How is that possible? I think I've mentioned this so many times. I played with Zach Pangelina. Me.
I mean, he was
hair.
like 16 at the time.
Oh, you must have been. Dylan Schmidt, and they get Kenny Nasangaga out of San Diego, goes across there. Big fan of Kenny's.
Yeah, me too. Big pickup. Like athlete, physical. Love that.
Yep.
Love that pickup.
Taylor Crumry, champion with Seattle in their inaugural season. He fills the void that John Sullivan leaves, but in a different position. So he goes to Nola Gold. Jack Reeves, he's on a deal in New England, coming across from the Gloucester Club. Foster DeWet, depending how you want to say it, and Holden Youngett, young St Mary's halfback who's down at Nola since their first season. He heads all the way up to the northeast. I believe girlfriend or fiance got a job up in Boston, so the teams were able to figure out a trade to get Holden up there. So that was good to see.
I mean, I think there might be 3 starting scrum halves in New England, right?
John Poland's re-signed, yep. And you've got
and Sean Jacobian, who's just down with the American Selects. I mean, that's a pretty good, I mean, John Poland played almost every minute of every game from New England, so there's going to be some real competition there. Holden Young, obviously, has done great stuff for Nola, so lots of competition. I think New England's so far doing a great job and seems to be winning the off season, in my view.
That's because they've got Tom Kindly. That's why. Kaiser Sosa.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah, he knows what's going on. Trust me, we're gonna. The curtain will fall one day, and Tom Kindly will be the guy behind Major League Rugby. He was the guy, but it'll be too late because we'll run out of the police station, we'll drop our coffee mug, and then realise it was being played, and he'll be gone. What is it? Greatest trick the devil ever played is convincing us he didn't exist. TK, I'm on to you, pal. If I suddenly go missing anyone, call Tom Kindly because he'll be in the middle of it.